All right, thank you for staying with us. November the 11th will be decision day in 3 states. Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi State will hold off-cycle governorship elections on the set date. And according to the final list of candidates released by the Independent National Electoral Commission, 17 political parties are fielding candidates for the November election in Imo State, meaning that the incumbent will have to put his best foot forward if he is to come out victorious. The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, has urged the people of Imo to re-elect Hope Uzodinma, the incumbent governor. Mr. Ganduje spoke in Owerri, the Imo State capital, when he inaugurated the APC campaign council for the November 11 governorship election in the state. The APC chairman said re-electing Uzodinma would enable him consolidate on the good work he has done in the state. Joining us via Zoom is Deputy Vice Chancellor of Federal University, Otuoke, Bayelsa State, Professor Chris Oyema. Good morning, Prof. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning, viewer.
Right. Let's talk Imo State and developments coming out of there with regards to the governorship election. And I'd like to begin from the reconciliation process that has begun. We see that the governor of the state is, leading some members of the party on a reconciliatory move at this time. And the question is, why now? How important is this towards the election coming on November the 11th?
Yeah, the reconciliation move initiated by His Excellency, distinguished Senator Hope Uzodinma, is timely and also strategic. Yes, we are in a re-election era, and everything is geared about achieving peace in Imo State so that Imo people can speak with one voice. In a situation where there are different tones coming from a home would wreak some havoc and may not give room to meaningful development. So I think it is a good initiative, especially at times like this, when every tendency is that Imo seems to be collapsing into a political party, so to say. I want to give it to His Excellency because it is part of his moves to ensure that there is a comprehensive participation from all and sundry in the society, and also to ensure that one comes together, to appreciate what the governor is doing without being unnecessarily, critical where there should be a commendation. So for me, it is a very strong and well-positioned strategic move, and I completely, give it to His Excellency. Already, he's making waves. He's making waves, and Imo people are happy.
Prof, we'll come back to you in a matter of few minutes, but we'll have the conversation in the studio as we wait for you to join us as soon as you're available. But this matter of reconciliation, stemming from what the Prof said, he says he's looking forward to comprehensive participation, family speaking with one voice, so to speak, ahead of the election. I am wondering why they had to wait till this point. Why haven't we been working on this path of reconciliation? And what even happens afterwards? Now that, okay, once the election is over, do we go back to status quo and say, okay, we have achieved what we wanted, that is, if he is re-elected, and then we move on? How do we really heal the reconciliatory process? What does it take? Because we have often talked about, the mechanism to ensure that parties ensure there's some level of peace when there's this internal rancor, the internal mechanism put in place to addressing grievances. How effective has it been over the years to ensure this harmony and unity? And it's not just because we want to get to re-election or want to have a re-election or win an election. That is why we are having some of these moves been taken?
As far as I see, this is something that actually is across board, the cuts across board.
Absolutely.
Not only the APC, the Labour Party is also having their own internal problem, especially with the leadership, national leadership, strife between the Abure faction and the Papa-led faction, where the court already said, okay, whatever primaries that have been conducted by Abure, over the certain period of time is nullified. So that alone has actually dichotomized the Labour Party into two, where we have one faction loyal to one party, one candidate loyal to one faction, another. So also the PDP too, about 7 different state working committee, they withdrew their membership and, saying that they are not part of even the party itself. So, a lot of, issues, within the parties. It's all about politics. It's all about the WINTV. What is in need for me? That's the most important TV, so far.
Interesting. All right, we hear the Prof is back now. We've been speaking with Deputy Vice Chancellor from the Federal University of Bayelsa State, Professor Chris Oyema, and we're still looking at the matter of reconciliation. You said is to ensure comprehensive participation, because like I was speaking with my colleague here, why did we have to wait to this point before we began to initiate this process? And what's the internal mechanism to addressing all of the grievances? Is it just about winning an election and then returning to status quo? What is the mechanism being put in place that it is not just seen as for the now, but to sustain this process of reconciliation so he can build on the dividends of democracy in the state?
Yeah. It's not just about now. See, when policies or strategies begin to manifest, one begins to imagine that this is something that has been well thought about and nurtured for a period of time. That it's coinciding to a period when the election is near does not mean that this is when this idea was actually initiated. The governor has actually been working behind the scene, and this is the time to make these efforts, manifest. And I assure you, it's not just about a conversational diet, a kind of one-on-one interaction. It's also about using the right committee of well-meaning lives to ensure that lasting peace is achieved. It's not just about a party. It's about the critical stakeholders in Imo State. You discover that I'm not comparing notes here, but whenever a party imagines that there are challenges it must address, it sets up mechanism, to address such a challenge. And that is what APC as a party is doing. But where Hope Uzodinma is involved is that he works beyond APC to permeate the sensibilities of Imolites, to see how critical stakeholders, every critical stakeholder, can be carried along. Yeah, it is coinciding with this process, this election period, and why not? And why not? The governor should be properly concerned about the challenges of disruption. If he gets critical stakeholders to speak with one voice, that will make Imo State achieve the real meaning of continuity. That is coinciding with this period is a plus, but that doesn't mean that is when the process actually started.
Deputy Vice Chancellor of Federal University, Bayelsa State, Professor Chris Oyema, on the upcoming elections, governorship elections in Imo State. Ibrahim?
Right, Prof. I'd like to ask you, let's talk about the incumbent administration being led by Governor Hope Uzodinma. Why do you think he deserves a re-election after serving his first term as governor?
So many achievements to his credit that would make one compelled, to endorse him for a second tenure. And Imolites actually thinking in that direction. And there are many of such as signature stones in terms of massive road construction. If you live in Imo State, you will notice that a lot has actually happened. I mean, in the positive direction. You talk about the Owerri or Lu Road that was a kind of a death trap that has been dualized. And Imolites think that other governors that tried to construct that road pushed that project, with a half-hearted determination. But what Governor Uzodinma has done is to engage the right kind of contractor with the right kind of design. And if you see that road now, it has been dualized and the structure is quite solid. The more people attest to that. I do attest to that too. Then you talk about the Okigwe Owerri Road, another signature project that no matter your political persuasion or party affiliation, you must recognize as an important project. But there is something that Governor Uzodinma has also done. When he assumed office, he never abandoned projects started by his predecessor. What he had done was to show up the quality of such projects, knowing it's a kind of continuum and knowing that that was at stake. So he has concluded most of these projects and the road networks. I just mentioned those about Owerri, but there are also internal roads like the MCC road, then the Umanwaha road. And if you know that road, if you're familiar with Owerri and you know that road really, I don't know. I think that's a technology that the constructors of that road adopted. Whether they call this balloon technology, that was adopted in order to ensure that the Dutch people had actually abandoned their properties along that axis. But now that road has not only been perfectly constructed, but we also have people recovering, their property along that way. Apart from Chukwumamoha Road, you also have the Mbise Omoahia Road, the Mbe Akopa Oga Road, the Ihiagwa Naked Obinze Road, and these are state choices. For instance, the Obinze Naked Ihiagwa Road is not only a way of linking the rural communities, to the urban area, but also takes care of some tertiary institutions cited along that axis. The Federal Polytechnic in Nekede is carried along. The Federal University of Technology Owerri is carried along. So these are actually solid roads. It's not about creating paths. I mean, constructing roads. There was a time when the signature tune was building and ashafated. So these roads have not been built and ashafated. They also have been solidly, constructed. They also talk about how the government administration has also focused on projects that showed up the quality of education, that Imolites have access to. We don't just have the sustenance of the free education program in our tertiary institutions. Fees, as I speak with you, school fees are still not paid in the Imo State University, the foremost state university in the state. We also have the dexterity with which Governor Uzodinma has perfected the status of what has become K.O. Badiwe, university. And then he has not only perfected structures or maybe shored up universities that are in existence before his administration, but he has also built institutions. For instance, the University of Agric and Environmental Sciences at Omuagwo, has been built and well developed by His Excellency. We also have the College of Education at Ihitopoma, named after Senator Owajimogu. We also have the School of Health Technology, built at Omoma, all in Imo State. One will now begin to ask, is it possible for the state to fund all these institutions?
All right.
That is where the wonder work now comes in.
All right.
That Uzodinma has been able to sustain, these institutions, is a great kudos and credit to his administration.
Okay. Prof, let me quickly cut in here because we have limited time. You have reeled out some of his achievements, and he has promised to...
Just some.
Yes, I said some of his achievements. He has promised to move Imo to the next level. So one is wondering what then he wants to do this time around in specific terms that he is asking for a re-election.
There is achievement. There is consolidation. There is further achievement. There is expansion. I've mentioned roads, but these are not all the roads in Imo State. I've mentioned education, but these are not all that education requires. But he has used this first tenure to position himself strategically to convince Imolites that he means well for the state and he can deliver. So another 4 years, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as Imolites are concerned, would give this Uzodinma administration enough time, to actually consolidate on all these achievements. But there are two ways of looking at what Uzodinma is doing. There is achievement and there is also strategy. While his achievements may be part of his strategy for re-election, there is also this strategy that is expansionist in form. For instance, he has sat back and thought about people that may not have effectively been engaged in terms of benefiting directly from the dividends of democracy in the state. For instance, in his Charter of Equity, he has looked at certain issues like ecumenical considerations. He has looked at gender balancing, and I think these and more may have informed his choice of a running mate, a new deputy governor designate in the name of Lady Chinyere Ekomaro. Yeah. And I think it might interest us to know that talking about gender balancing, among all the senators in Imo State, they're all males. In the House of Representatives, we have only one female member. And of course, in the 27 local governments of the state, there is no male. All the House of Assembly members are males. So for Governor Uzodinma to now choose a female now as running mate is making a clear statement that he recognizes the importance of women, and that is a way to directly call them into the administration to participate and also partake. So this second tenure is supposed to be a period of consolidation, period of expansion, and a period to further, extend the dividends of democracy to areas that he is yet to reach.
Right, Prof.
Yes.
Prof, if you can hear me, well, you already spoke to the question I would like to ask you as regards the reason why he dropped his deputy governor and appointing or picking a female candidate. But then you've spoken to that. But like other states in Nigeria's southeast, security has been an issue in the southeast, in Imo State precisely, where we have kidnapping, banditry, and also the sit-at-home order, and etc. Although the Nigerian army said they will be deploying about 2,300 soldiers for the elections, but are you not worried about the security status of the state and how this might affect voting pattern, which might also lead to voter apathy? All
right, we hear some network challenges there, but we must thank you, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Federal University, Otuoke, Bayelsa State Professor Chris Oyema, for speaking with us on the re-election bid of Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, a critical aspect that we would have loved to hear with regards to addressing the matter of security, but unfortunately, network challenges had to, just play its normal role again.